Hello and welcome everybody from Larnaca, from Cyprus. How I got here? Actually it was a longer weekend because of Easter, and I thought it's a good idea to not waste these 4 days which I got together with Saturday and Sunday. So I was just searching where can I get very cheap, and when I found out that from my city, from Cluj, the cheapest flight is to Larnaca in this period, then I was sure to go there, because I never went to Cyprus, and I can add another country to the list which countries I visited. So actually this was also a reason, and of course the good weather, because here spring is already hotter than in my country. As you can see, I'm just wearing this t-shirt, and well, it's a little bit windy, but we have 22 degrees, and well, it's not suitable for swimming, but actually I did it. It was very cold, 17 degrees, the temperature of the sea. But well, it was a nice experience, and well, it was the second time that I was swimming in such a cold water. First time it was in Dubai in January, but I can really recommend, because it's very good. Actually it's very healthy. So yeah, I also prepared some interesting data about Larnaca. This is the third biggest city of this country, Cyprus. In the first place you can find Nicosia, and the second place is Limassol. So in the metropolitan area 144,000 people are living, but in this city just 51,000. It's not really big. Actually you can walk through, discover everything on foot by walking. It's not really demanding to do that. Already in the ancient times, in 1300, it was populated. This area was populated, and back in time it was a city called Kition, and in Latin language Citium, and it's also mentioned in the Bible like Kittim, but Kittim was used for the whole island, for the whole territory of Cyprus. Historians believe that the name Larnaca originates from the ancient Greek word Larnax, which means coffin, urn, sarcophagus, and that is because they found a lot of sarcophagus in this area, a lot of Larnakes, and this is the reason why this place was called then Larnaca. Well, this makes sense because also Egypt conquered this territory, and well, because of that you can think that a lot of sarcophagus were placed in this part. In 1000 before Christ, this territory was conquered by the Phoenicians, and subsequently it became the center of the Phoenician culture. And after, over the centuries, this territory was conquered by a lot of great powers of this region. First by the Assyrian Empire, then by Egypt. This is why we can also understand why a lot of sarcophagus were found here. And then also by the Persian Empire. This is the seaside promenade of Larnaca. Well, I already mentioned in a vlog that I love palm trees, so that's also a big advantage, a big plus. So I'm very happy with this choice to travel here. Behind me you can see the statue of a famous Athenian general who was helping the revolution in Cyprus against the ruling Persian Empire in the 5th century before Christ. He died in a sea battle against Xerxes. He is also a very famous Persian leader, and his last order, his last wish on his deathbed was to not reveal that he actually died. This is how he wanted to motivate the revolutionaries and the local Cypriot Greeks to keep fighting against the Persians, and it was also, of course, a good strategy against the enemy. Because of this, people say that he was victorious even in his death, and this is also text on this statue. So this is the statue of Kimon. Here you can see the text. Here also the explanation that even in death he was victorious. This is the most famous beach in Larnaca, the Finikoudes beach. It's conveniently located just below the seaside promenade and like 5 minutes far from the city center. And well, in high season is very busy, but now you can see in spring not so many people are here, so actually it's not well, I wanted to say it's not crowded, but it's I should actually say that it's empty. Well, the water is very cold. It's like 17 degrees and 17 degrees Celsius, and not really convenient for swimming. Well, it's also windy. The waves are pretty high. In fact, the water is very shallow. I was walking like 20 meters inside and the sea still didn't touch my knees. It was really nice to swim. As you can see, not many people are swimming currently because it's really cold. But well, it's also nice to just walk next to the sea. It's always a good feeling and spectacular. Well, I also wanted to add that well, you cannot compare this beach with the white sand beaches of Thailand. As you can see, it's not really sandy, it's more like mud, and they also don't really clean it when it's not high season. In 322 it was such a big earthquake that it destroyed almost completely the city of Larnaca. But now nowadays you shouldn't be afraid of visiting Cyprus. Some seismic activity can happen, but it's not dangerous, so that shouldn't make you worried. After I landed in Larnaca, I found a public transportation desk inside of the airport terminal, and I needed some instructions how to find the public bus stop to get to the city center of Larnaca. And there was an old lady. She was very helpful and she spoke very good English, so I really liked the way she explained to me where to go and everything. And I also asked her how is the COVID situation currently in Cyprus, well, regarding to the mosque, because otherwise I don't really care about COVID. But well, she said that inside it's still obligatory, but then she took off her mask and she said, oh, it should be enough already, and she was smiling, and me too. Well, I don't know when this will be over, like everywhere in the world, but at least in my country we don't need to wear the mask anymore. And well, she said that outside it's not mandatory, so that was the most important thing for me. But still, I'm not happy about taking on the mask and always carrying it with me when I go inside somewhere. As a travel advice, I wanted to add that it's worth to use the public transportation from the airport to the city center, because it costs only €2. Behind me you can see the Larnaca Castle, which was built in 1625 under the Ottoman Empire's rule, and well, it was also a medieval castle in this place, constructed in the 12th century, but nothing remained from that. But on the same place the Larnaca Castle was constructed, as I said, in 1625. After the British took over here and colonized Cyprus, they transformed the castle into a prison, but the castle and the prison lost its importance during 2 centuries, and the famous traveler Giovanni Mariti wrote that when he was here in the 18th century, then it was already in a semi-ruined condition, yet there was still garrison protecting it. Currently it houses the medieval museum of Larnaca, so let's go inside and take a look. The entrance fee was only 2.5 euro, so I don't expect a large exhibition. It should be interesting. We can find some old guns here. Well, this wasn't too much. It is worth to climb on the walls of the castle because we will have an amazing view of the Mediterranean Sea. That's the Finikudes beach. We can also find an old mosque next to the castle. now we'll visit the most famous sightseeing attraction of Larnaca, which is the St. Lazarus Church, Agios Lazarus. Its name is given by a biblical person who is Lazarus of Bethany. He died and he was resurrected by Jesus Christ, and well, after the crucifixion of Jesus, it was rumored that people who were against Jesus also want to kill this Lazarus, and he actually believed these rumors, and he flee here to Kition. As I mentioned, Kition was the former name of Larnaca, and after locals were informed who is this Lazarus actually, he was consecrated as the first bishop of Kition. So Lazarus was living here as a bishop for 30 years until he actually died for the second time, and now for eternity. And his tomb was kept here, and in the end the people decided to build a church on its tomb. Well, under the Arabic rule in the 5th century, somehow this tomb was lost, and nobody knew how. And it's also a miraculous way that in 890 the tomb was found again, and the tomb, it was a text that this is the tomb of Saint Lazarus, who is a friend of Jesus. And well, the emperor of Constantinople, of the Byzantine Empire, Leo VI, ordered that his remains must be transferred to Constantinople to not lose it again. And well, actually Constantinople is the current Istanbul. There's also some traditions regarding to this. On each October it is celebrated that this transfer took place, so the remains were transferred to Constantinople. And also on each Lazarus Saturday, which is 8 days before Easter, people are carrying the icon of St. Lazarus on the streets of Larnaca. Well, I forgot to mention that it is a Greek Catholic church, and it was built in the 9th century. The church had a bad fate under the centuries because Larnaca was conquered by a lot of big forces, first by the Franks, then by the Venetians. So actually between the 13th and the 16th century it was converted into a Roman Catholic church, and after the Ottoman Empire conquered Cyprus, also it was also converted to Muslim mosque, and that time the domes and the bell tower were destroyed. But somehow the Ottomans gave the church back to the Orthodox people, probably because of the cemetery, because of the tombs which were under the temple. And it took a lot of time until the Ottomans allowed to the Cypriots to reconstruct the church, and until they gave it back completely to the locals. This was in the middle of the 19th century, and that was the time when the bell tower was reconstructed, and big renovations could start. And as you can see, the church is in a very good shape currently. Yeah, let's go inside, take a look, and also check the tomb of Saint Lazarus under the church. The bell tower was rebuilt in 1857 in Latinate style. Here on the left you can see the flag of Greece, and that's the flag of Cyprus. It's also a market next to the church.
ufficiale del documento, va tutto. Anni fa e tutte le persone si fanno, ma la nostra sono polivie.
E lo prima prendere quattro.
For some reason you need to go under that icon. It's very interesting habit. I never see such a thing. Now let's check the tomb of Szent Lazarus.
Μόλις το έμαθα να το σταύρωσα, γραμμάστηκε και έναν άποδο προβιασμό και
As you could see, there were two tombs and one of them was opened. That symbolizes that Jesus resurrected Saint Lazarus, and the other one was closed, so that was the final resting place of Saint Lazarus. So this is why we got two tombs there. This is the Larnaca marina. You see a lot of yachts inside on the harbor.
Hello! You cannot see him.
The ancient philosopher Zeno was born here in Larnaca, called Kition back then, and he was the founder of the Stoic philosophy, which is a very interesting one because it teaches self-control. So we can find his statue on the seafront promenade of Larnaca. This is a typical food in Cyprus called dolmades. They are like stuffed cabbages which we have in Hungary and in Romania. You can imagine that they mix rice and some vegetables or even minced meat, and they roll it in some kind of leaves. It's not 100% typical in Cyprus, because also in Iran and in other Arabic countries you can find such a thing. We are now in the old Turkish quarter of Larnaca called Skala. Before 1974, big Turkish community was living here. well, maybe I will make a vlog in the next years when I will visit Nicosia, the capital of Cyprus, to tell about the story. Just to mention briefly, it was a big tension in the 70s between the Greek Cypriots and the Turkish Cypriots, and actually it started the war. You can see a lot of colorful window shutters in this quartier. Absolutely amazing. I like Larnaca. It's a pretty small town, city. So currently the Turkish are living in the north of Cyprus, in a country which is not recognized by the world, only by Turkey. I was intentionally not saying anything in the previous minute to maintain the excitement. Where are we going in the middle of the nowhere? Because the title of the vlog is that it's about Larnaca, it's a city break, but actually this sightseeing attraction is outside of the city, and I decided to walk because I really like to enjoy some walking after well, a lot of sightseeing inside of the city. It was nice to be a little bit in the nature. So what you can see behind me, it's an aqueduct built in 1746 by the Ottoman ruler of Larnaca, because that time Cyprus was under Ottoman ruling, and well, this was the way how they resolved the water supply of the city. It's very crazy if you think about it, that in the 18th century they needed such a Roman era construction, but actually the whole combination of these tubes were more complicated, because they also used tunnels, not just these aqueducts, and well, this was used actually until 1930, when modernization took place and the water supply of Larnaca was organized in another way, and you can imagine that the water tubes were on this aqueduct, and there are also some other parts of it, so it was more kilometers long, so it's absolutely incredible. And also that actually this survived during the centuries. Well, of course it was a big goal to maintain these constructions. You can also use public transportation to get here. It's like 5 kilometers far from Larnaca, from the city center. Today we can see 33 arches. Well, I didn't say anything yet about the entry requirements to Cyprus. The COVID situation is still affecting the country, or I don't know. Well, this is, in my opinion, very crazy, but well. So you need a negative PCR test or some COVID vaccine documents. So in this case, you can enter Cyprus, and you need to fill out some entry requirement documents. And actually, this is the paper which they verify when you enter the country, and of course also the ID or passport. Actually, when we arrived, they checked directly the COVID vaccination papers or PCR tests, and some tourists were not prepared. They were sent in quarantine. I think it's 5 days, and they also needed to pay mandatory for PCR test. So yeah, it's still crazy. South from the Finicudez beach we can find the Castella beach. The second most famous beach in Larnaca is the Mackenzie beach, after the Finicudez beach, which is just some minutes far from the city center. And you can also find a lot of resorts and apartments to rent, hotels and everything very close to the beach, so that's also a big advantage. So a lot of tourists choose Mackenzie because of that, and also because the Finicudez beach gets very crowded in the main season in summer. Well, as I already mentioned, Cyprus was colonized by the British, so probably this explains the strange name, why it is called Mackenzie. It doesn't sound like Greek. Behind me you can see the Larnaca Salt Lake, which is 2.2 square kilometers, so it's extremely huge, but it's still the second largest salt lake in Cyprus, because the Limassol Salt Lake is even bigger. In summer the water evaporates and it leaves a crust of salt, and it was a big salt industry before 1986 in Cyprus. They were extracting the salt and they were exporting it, but step by step it was too expensive to do these activities, and it was not worth, well, it was not too much income selling the salt, and in 1986 they stopped doing this activity. It was very interesting that they were collecting the salt in pyramids, and they were carrying it with donkeys. There is a legend which says that the lake is salty because of Szent Lázarus. He was asking an old woman for food and drink, and she refused. She said that her vines all dried up and she doesn't have any money. And then Saint Lazarus told her that may all your vines be always dried up, and the lakes should be salty forever. And well, I think this is a little bit tough words from a saint, but anyway, actually there is also a scientific explanation of this, why it is salty, and it's actually because the sea is very close to Larnaca, and the sea water is penetrating through the rocks. I also wanted to give you a travel advice. If you come here in early spring, you will see lots of flamingos. Well, I came here in April and I just missed it, but well, I wanted to give you this information. Larnaca Salt Lake is actually formed by 4 lakes, and in the other lake I could spot some flamingos, even though they are quite far. I don't know if I could go there, take some better recordings, but it's not the best walking area. As you can see, I am crossing here in the dust already. And you can see that the water evaporated, and there's the salt which was extracted by the Cypriot workers. And over there you can find the airport. That's also in walkable distance. Actually, it's just 7 kilometers far from the city. Also very interesting that airplanes which are landing in Larnaca airport, they are passing by the airport first, and after 10-15 kilometers they turn back above the sea, and this is how they land at the airport. This maneuver is necessary because the airport is on the edge of the island. After falling from her donkey, Haram, the wet nurse of Prophet Muhammad, died here in 645, and a shrine was constructed at this place. Well, nothing remained from that, but in 1816 the Ottomans constructed here the Hala Sultan Tekke mosque, which you can see behind me. So it's an important place of pilgrimage for the Muslims. It is a little bit far from the city. You need to walk like 1 hour. It's like 4 or 5 kilometers. But the walking path is really beautiful because you walk next to the Larnaca Salt Lake. I found some signs that these are the ruins of an ancient settlement, but I couldn't find any other information about it, so that's it, some ruins. And now let's go and watch the ceremony of Saint Lazarus on the street. This is the icon of Saint Lazarus.
Várjál. Nem tudom foglalni.
So this was the vlog about Larnaca. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if that's so, please subscribe to my channel. And it's very important to push on the bell icon, because this is how you get notified about the new contents. Have a nice day and goodbye.